Hey everybody, it's Chase with AV Pop Culture again, and today I am wearing the black hat because I am gonna play the villain. We are here to talk about 10 films that were almost perfect, but not quite. So pop that tape in, I got you, let's go do this. All right, so let me go ahead and establish some ground rules here. Just so you know, before you come after me, most of these are movies that I really like and in some cases just absolutely love. But they had some problems that kept them from being, oh man, they were just so close to being perfect films. Like not just in my eyes, but in the public at large, critics, they just have those little problems. And some of it is no fault of their own, but it's just things that kept them from being just that next rung of up to perfection that we're all chasing. And that's a high standard, but these movies had it in their hands. They had a chance, and for one reason or another, it just slipped through their fingers. And the first one up, and these are ranked to the one that breaks my heart the most. The first one on the list is one that is here through absolutely, I think, no fault of its own, because coming in at number 10 is Life Force. And I just picked up this 4K. I love this movie. But this movie literally bankrupted Canon Films. But here is the thing. This is a damn good movie. And Tobe Hooper went in there with a massive budget, like a budget larger than Star Wars. He went in with a massive budget, and he almost pulled off, or he really did pull off the unthinkable. A vampire horror movie, a vampire, sci-fi, alien, horror movie slash hammer film slash erotic like vampire film, all mixed sci-fi, all of it mixed together into one big bundle of a movie, and it's pulled off. He did it. I mean, it's ahead of his time, I believe. This movie is friggin' awesome. And to be able to combine all those elements and get it in there, amazing. Now, what kept it from being perfect? Well, the budget and the marketing. The budget bankrupted Canon Films, and they really didn't know how to market it. The non-director's cut of the film is not good. You have to watch the director's cut. They had to cut so much out. Matilda May is naked through a large portion of the film, playing a vampire that lives off people's life force, who's really an alien vampire from outer space. So you have that sci-fi alien element, then horror, and then it's very much like a Hammer film. A little bit, you've got the British reacting to the to the way the things are in a very matter-of-fact way, but they had to cut and edit so much to try to make it palatable and to cut down on the nudity and make it more streamlined, that all those things together just combined to keep it from being perfect. Unfortunately, while the 4K is awesome, that director's cut, the full cut, the uncensored cut, is not in 4K. It's just in HD. I'd love to see that come to 4K at some point, but I had to have this. I got to take it off of my targets down there because I did get it, but through no fault of its own in a lot of ways, this is on the list at number 10. All right, so coming up next is one, I know you guys are going to give me shit. You think that I hate this movie. I don't hate this movie, and I don't hate Dario Argento, and I don't hate Italian horror, but I am talking about Suspiria coming in here at number 9. Now, what stops this movie from achieving, in my opinion, a lot of the accolades that people give it? What do I think keeps it from being a perfect film? Well, the script. and not the overall plot, though Argento says he doesn't care about plot. The problem is the script was written for the actors to be like 12 years old. And then when Argento got pushback from the producers and said, no, we can't do that. They can't be 12 years old. We're doing too much violence to them and stuff like that. We need to make them in their early 20s. He didn't change the script or the dialogue. So to me, the dialogue comes off as bratty and super childish coming from these adults. It leaves plot holes because there's things that children can't do that adults would do in these situations. And that, to me, just keeps it from being a perfect movie. And a lot of people try to credit it as a perfect movie anyway. I'm a writer. You can't tell me that you don't care about the plot, and you can't write a story for 12-year-olds and dialogue for 12-year-olds and then not change it at all and make the characters 21 years old. I don't care who you are. I love you too, Chance. I don't care who you are or what you want to tell me. That is bullshit. You can't do it. 12-year-olds and 20-somethings do not talk the same. They do not act the same. They do not have the same options in different situations. So that stops it from being a perfect film, in my opinion. Also, the score is overbearing in some places. More subtlety, more eerie tones versus blah, loud, because it's supposed to be a nightmare, right? But when a lot of these loud sounds hit, it's almost like an alarm clock jarring me out of the scene. But this movie, to me, is still that close to being perfect. It is like, I still think it's that good. So, you can come after me again, but those are problems. There is no way that you can argue that it's okay to have the same script, dialogue, and plot for 20-something-year-olds as for 12-year-old girls. No way. You can't sell me on it. So that stops Suspiria, in my opinion, overall from reaching perfection. Coming in at number 9. Number 8, I'm going to pick on me some James Cameron, and I am going to talk about Titanic. You could say there's a few things. I mean, Titanic has, how many Academy Awards? I don't even know how many it was up for or whatever, and it's in the public zeitgeist, the lexicon, it's been 84 years or what, like all that kind of stuff. To me, one of the biggest problems that's just stupid as shit is at the end of the movie when old Rose throws the big damn Hope Diamond into the ocean. So you mean to tell me she struggled along her whole life, her family struggled or could profit or could benefit from that thing, and she held on to it all this time? She had no idea she was ever going to go out on a boat again to where Titanic was. So what was she going to do with it when she passed away? She was already very, very, very old, but she happened to be holding on to it all this time, doing nothing with it, on the off chance that she was going to go back out there one day and dump it in the water where it belongs. And then she was married and had a family and children and grandchildren and everything else for decades and decades and decades. Yet she gets welcomed in with all the other people who pass away on the Titanic in heaven. And is it her husband? No. Fuck him, right? It is Jack, the guy who she knew for 3 days. So forget being with her husband, who she spent decades and decades of her life with, raised a family with, all that kind of stuff. Forget about him. Go back to the guy in heaven. She gets to be with the guy that she was with for like 2 days. I'm sorry. Those two things together, and I like this movie a lot. But, and don't get me started on the door where there are room for two of them. There's a couple things that cause problems for me in this movie. But those two things, it's like, yeah, screw that husband, man. I know you gave your whole life together, 50, 60 years together, but man, that guy that she was with for 2 days, he gets her for all eternity because that's who she'd rather be with. And by the way, family, screw you, because I've been holding on to this diamond on the off chance that I could come out here someday if they find the Titanic and I get to go out there and dump it in the ocean. I mean, to me, those stop this thing from reaching that next level. Because every time I'm like, what in the hell? Like, come on, man. Both of those things at the end, like, just piss on you, husband. Piss on you, family. Shoot. Heck with it. But I do like this movie a lot. And it is on this list because if you just didn't do those things and you're trying to do them for dramatic effect and everything, and it just doesn't work for me. You know, but it comes in here on the list at number 8. All right, number 7, and I'm probably about to make some Lord of the Rings fans angry, but we're going to talk about Return of the King. There's a couple things with Return of the King. One of the things is it's really long. That doesn't actually bother me. I never have a problem with runtimes in movies. If I'm enjoying them, who cares? What I do have a problem with is you got Christopher Lee Saruman, like, just cast aside. It's not really clear about his death, what happens to him. And then the Eagles. Okay? In the movie, why couldn't they, if the Eagles could just fly to Mount Doom and pick up the hobbits, pick up Sam and Frodo, and just fly them back to safety, why couldn't they have just flown them there to start with? Like, literally took them no time. Just fly in there, grab them, take them out. Okay. And if you want to make up reasons for that, then okay, fine. But then the movie has it feels like it has 5 different endings. It's like they couldn't decide on the ending. It feels like the movie ends like multiple different times. It's like pick an ending or put it all together somehow. It literally shows an ending and kind of like black screens out and then goes to another ending and then kind of black screen. It's like it just keeps ending over and over and over again. And there is something that Tolkien put in there. I mean, he was kind of a believer in different Earth ages, and this is not our first Earth age and stuff like that. And that the elves and like goblins or orcs and all that kind of stuff, those existed in another Earth age than ours, and that's the reason why those figures had to leave Middle Earth, because now became the time of man, and the hobbits would die off, which oddly enough, they have now found hobbit-like skeletons, you know that? Of previously unknown creatures, but or humanoids. So very interesting. But yeah, just the multiple endings, pick an ending. And the eagle thing, I mean, people in the theater were like, why didn't they just fly them in there and drop the ring off and head back and we were all done? So like, you know, and that's nitpicking, but there are some things like that that just kind of keep this from just being right, just the next level to me. And I mean, this thing won buttloads of awards, nominated for a bunch of them, but it keeps it from being that next level at the top for me. All right, that is 10, 9, 8, 7. Coming in at number 6 is one that kills me because over the past 15, 20 years, I've come to love this movie more and more and more. But the thing that keeps it from taking that next level, being even more awesome, dare I say, perfect in that level, in that conversation, Halloween 3, what keeps it from being there, coming in here on this list, what keeps it from being perfect almost? You called it Halloween 3. Like, call it anything else. People went into this movie confused. It flopped. You had just come off Halloween 1, Halloween 2. There was no internet. There was no big explanation that Michael Myers wasn't in this movie. People were big into Halloween 1 and 2. Here comes Halloween 3. They're expecting to see Michael Myers, and he ain't there. And it's like, if you call it anything else, you could have called it Season of the Witch, a Halloween story. Or you could have just called this Season of the Witch, or Saw one. You could literally anything, but you made it a direct sequel. You said Halloween 3. Okay. So people went in looking for Michael Myers. And when they didn't get him, they were pissed off. And for a long time as a kid, like I watched it and didn't really want anything to do with it. I was like, that's stupid. It's a Halloween movie with no Michael Myers. And I mean, as much as I love it now, and this 4K is awesome, and I love me some Tom Atkins and everything, I'm still going to say it makes no sense to make this a direct sequel to Halloween 1 and 2. And you say, well, it's not a direct sequel. Yeah, but it was directly in line. It went Halloween 1, it went Halloween 2, Halloween 3. And people came in looking, he's trick-or-treating, and Michael Myers is synonymous with Halloween, and trick-or-treaters are all over the first film and all that kind of stuff. So people expected to see Michael Myers. You didn't get him. So that is something, like, if you take all that away and it didn't have that stigma or expectation, I think the movie would have been way more held up as a great standalone horror film. So that mistake, in my opinion, keeps it from being considered perfect or considered a higher regarded film. All right, we are rolling halfway through. So coming in here at number 109876, number 5 on my list is Gangs of New York. Boy, nominated for 10 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. You know why? And I love this movie, man. Daniel Day-Lewis. You've got Daniel Day-Lewis and Leonardo DiCaprio giving performances of their lives. Liam Neeson. You got, I about called him Wreck-It Ralph in here. And I just totally blanked on his name. Doing great. I mean, just acting their asses off. Why can't I? John C. Reilly. Just acting their asses off. I mean, just absolutely just chewing it up. And then you have Cameron Diaz. And as much as I like Cameron Diaz and some things, she did not belong on the screen with those people. And it took me out of it. And she brought down every scene she was in. And you might disagree with me. You can look this up too. I wanted to see if I was crazy. A long time ago, I looked this up. I'm not the only one that thinks that. She gets in the way of this movie. It's like, oh, there's Cameron Diaz, basically being Cameron Diaz, trying to not be Cameron Diaz. And meanwhile, Daniel Day-Lewis's performance as Bill the Butcher is, oh my God. I'm sitting here like looking at the back of this thing at one of the year's best pictures. But you know what? I don't think it won that many. The best picture of the year, Chicago Sun-Times and Rolling Stones. But it won 2 Golden Globes, Best Director and Best Song, The Hands Built America. But there's a difference between nominations and winning. I've been nominated for a ton of awards. There's always something that keeps you from winning. Sometimes it has nothing to do with you. Sometimes it's bullshit and petty, whatever. Cameron Diaz, she doesn't belong. She doesn't belong on that cover with them. It's not like hate. She can't stay on the screen with them 2 boys when they're rolling out in this movie. Like, and it just separates this film from being absolutely epic and legendary, and it just gets brought down a notch by her presence, in my opinion. You can argue with me, tell me what you think, but in my opinion, it brings down a movie that was just so close to perfection. But I still love it, and I love all these movies. Like I'm a fan of all these movies, but there are these things that's just like, man, if not for that, and this one, it's Cameron Diaz. All right, as we go further, it gets harder and harder for me. I gotta have a drink of water before I do this one. All right. This can kill me. These top 4 are gonna kill me. Coming in at number 4, The Dark Knight. Christopher Nolan. You have Heath Ledger giving the performance of his life. I mean, performance that could arguably have cost him his life because of stupid method acting, and going way too deep and getting too depressive and manic and all kinds of stuff. What are my problems with this movie? Well, partially thanks to Tom Cruise, I think you had to recast Katie Holmes with Maggie Gyllenhaal. And while I like Maggie Gyllenhaal in some things, I don't like her performance in this. Number one, like Katie Holmes was better, and I'm going to be honest with you. I find it more realistic that these guys would be fighting and pining away for Katie Holmes over Maggie Gyllenhaal. But more has to do with like the depressive nature of her performance. Like it brings everything down. She's not my biggest problem that keeps it away from perfection to me, though. One of my biggest problems with this movie is the overdone CGI, the overdone of Harvey Two-Face, of Harvey Dent. You overcooked that CGI. Like it was too much. You should have just practical effected his face and deformed it and what have you, instead of that, like basically a living skeleton on that side. It was too much. When I look at it, it gets very dated. It doesn't hold up. I didn't think it looked good then. And I love this movie, man. I love this movie. It's too much, though. That more than Maggie Gyllenhaal, I feel like Katie Holmes works better in it. I feel like she would have been better. But then just replacing a character is always weird anyway. But the CGI of his face and overdoing that. I mean, you have this amazing like practical effects of the Joker's like face where it's cut and his makeup that he's doing, and you do this ridiculous CGI split perfectly down the middle of Harvey Dent when he becomes Two-Face. It just takes me so out of it. It's too much. It's not even like realistic. Like, I mean, at this point, like, I mean, he had to live and function. Was all the air just like going through his brain and in his head? Like, I mean, it was too much. It was too much. It was actually better with Tommy Lee Jones, and that was kind of, you could just tell that was makeup. They should have went practical. They went practical on his face, and it would have been a lot better. To me, it separates it from absolute perfection. Kills me. All right. Coming in at number 3 is another one that kills me because this is one of my top favorite vampire movies ever, one of my favorite horror movies, and one of my favorite actors is the culprit. I am talking about Bram Stoker's Dracula, and you probably know where I'm going. Even though it doesn't really bother me, Keanu Reeves in this movie, and I friggin' love Keanu. I love him as a person. He seems like an amazing human being. I love pretty much every movie he's done. But I know where the bastard sleeps. Like, he's so kind of like stiff, trying to give, and then trying to have this accent too. And it always just kind of makes me laugh because it's just like, to me, it's just Keanu trying to do an accent. And it doesn't change how much I love this movie. I mean, I love this movie so much, but like it is easy to grab onto and knock it because you have such amazing performances from like Gary Oldman. To be honest with you, Winona Ryder, I'm kind of on too, but because it's like I feel like because it was so close in my mind to Beetlejuice and stuff, and I myself am strange and unusual, but it's really Keanu. That's like the only knock that just separates this from like there. If he's not in there doing that accent or whatever, there's like, I don't see what there would even be to knock or pick on or anything else with this movie. I love Bram Stoker's Dracula. It kills me to put it on this list. number one kills me. Like, all these kill me because I love these movies. So before you guys all come after me, I love these movies, but we're always reaching for perfection, and a lot of times it's unattainable, and usually it's like just one thing that keeps us from getting there. That's the case with some of these, and Dracula makes the list. This next one is one that I just talked about a lot. I did a video on this. It was my first time 4K review, and I am talking about The Witch. So with this movie, there's a couple of things, because I told you guys, like, I caught a lot of heat for, like, basically not just saying that I absolutely loved this film in every single way, and I'm going to try to pull this up for you guys, because there's a couple of things that separate it from being perfect for me, because I think it's like right there, man. I think it's like right there for being a perfect horror movie. And that's something that's hard to pull off. Let me see if I can find this. One of my issues with this movie was that I felt like the messaging was bad. I felt like that it said basically devil good, Christian family bad. She conquers the Christian family at the end, and she's basically rewarded for going to be a witch and be with Satan. And some people are like, I didn't get that out of it. I didn't get that out of it. Well, I did a lot of research on it, and I shared this with some people, and I want to read it to you. So there's a professor of film studies and cultural studies at a college, and I didn't write down the college, but I'm going to read this to you. I did write down his name. So he did an interview with Robert Eggers, and the interview said this. So it said, Thomason is in effect caught between two evils, not just the temptation of going to the dark side and signing her soul away to the devil and becoming a witch to obtain freedom and the materialistic based life she opines for, but she is also facing a life of oppression with her Puritan family and Puritan way of being, a life where she will never be able to self-determine or self-actualize herself. A truly oppressive way of being. In this way, Eggers boldly stresses that, well, at least in this extreme form of Christianity, of Puritanism / Christianity, it is an evil way of being, robbing women and people in general of a natural and healthy way of being. Conversely, in this regard, at least, the devil's bargain represents her freedom. But more than that, the ending could speak to one last radical idea. Another dark, deeper implication in the film. That Christianity doesn't just drive Thomason to the dark side, but the film and Eggers is suggesting that this is what Christianity, at least in this extreme form, does. It makes people sociopathic or psychopathic. Thomason is freed of her oppressive weight of her family and her Christian belief systems that were put on her. And this is signified by her hysterical laughter and her floating in the air, but that she matches the other witches in the ritual speaks to what she has become, a dark entity indeed. This was done by this article was by Professor Reagan Ross of Film and Media Studies and Cultural Studies, and I didn't write down the school. This was after he spoke with Robert Eggers, so or he, she, I don't know. So yeah. He did intend for Christianity to be the bad guy in this, the Christian family to be the bad guy. He did represent it that way. And to me, that's a bad message. And I don't like that. But if you take that away, okay, and you just watch it on the surface, my other big problem is for a movie called The Witch that also features the devil, there is very little witch and almost no devil. And I feel like because of the long, slow, atmospheric stuff. If you just had a little bit more witch, just a little bit more, and a little bit more devil back there pulling the string, that you could see pulling the strings and doing things where we could identify what, like, the evil was stirring them up and making this happen, then it kind of takes away that whole other argument, because then you're saying it has anything to do with Christianity. The devil and the witch is like messing them up and pushing them and making them do all this stuff and twisting them up. And then we identify the bad guy. We see it just a little bit more, not much. You don't have to ruin it with overdoing it, but just a little bit more. Give us a little bit more here and there. And I think it takes away that message. It gives us a little bit more to focus on, a little bit more evil to chew on there. And this movie literally becomes a perfect horror film. All right. Number one hurts my heart so much, because this is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. You're going to see me talk about it a lot in spooky season, and it doesn't matter what iteration that it's in. I got both here. I'm talking about It. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's the 1990 series or this sequel or remake series, particularly Chapter 2. The problem is the ending. The problem is the ending. You give them a pass. I actually still like this one much better. The atmosphere in this is way better. And this whole movie is about atmosphere and about the whole town being it in some way and developing that atmosphere. This one's better. I like it better. I even prefer the ending in this one, because you can forgive it. It was a made-for-a-TV miniseries in 1990. You can forgive what the ending looks like here. But the ending that they do here, overuse of CGI, and then stick a CGI clown head on a CGI spider, and then he just withers down into some weird thing at the end. I mean, I literally read or listen to this book on Audible every single summer, and the ending of both of these movies is not as good. I actually like this ending better because, yeah, you see like a cheesy spider. That's what they could do in 1990 with a made-for-TV movie. But I like how they keep stuff in the shadows. They show the shadows of them killing it and stuff like that. I think this could have been done better. Instead, it was like, we're going to forget all the realism. We're going to forget everything, and we're going to just chunk a shit ton of CGI at it. And so I actually hold it, the more current It Chapter 2, in much more of a finger wagging position about, you know, I hold them to, they should have had a higher standard. This one I forgive. 1989, when you're filming, made for TV. I mean, there's only so much you could do with that ending, but they should have known better with this, and they could have done better. And it prevents this. And I actually don't care for Chapter 2 very much at all anyway. Chapter 1 was really good. I don't care for Chapter 2 very much anyway in this series or this remake. Chapter 1 really good. Chapter 2 not so much. This movie is amazing all the way till that very end when there wasn't much else they could do. But I still love these movies. This is one of my favorite all-time horror movies. It just is atmospheric horror. It was on my, make sure you check out my creepy small town atmosphere, creepy atmosphere vibe horror movie list. It's on there because I love it. So that's what I mean. I love these movies. There's just those little things that keep them from being perfect, that could have took them to the next level and been held up with the all-time greats. And in some ways they are anyway. And I hold them as some of my favorites ever. So, you know, sometimes it's nitpicking when you get so good. I mean, you're striving for perfection. So you got to grab at the little things that you got to work on. And there are these little nagging things that stand in the way, but I do love these films. Let me know what you think. What do you think of the list? Were you surprised to see any of these? Let me know if you disagree. Just be friendly about it. Like, I do love these movies, so remember that. They are a lot of most of them are amongst my favorites. But let me know some of your movies that you love that were kind of just like ruined or kind of downgraded over just that one little thing that just irks you about them. Let me know some of those in the comments. Like, subscribe, be a part of all this. We do all kinds of lists, 4K reviews, physical media news, everything that you can think of. We talk movies here, and if that's something that you're interested in, like, subscribe, ring that bell. Consider joining the channel. The link is at my Patreon right down here in the description. You can join at the Patreon. You can join here on YouTube. You get access to all kinds of extra stuff that I'm uploading, tons of extra stuff all the time, behind the scenes of my filmmaking, all kinds of stuff. We're going to get us some live streams, some members only live streams when we get enough members and things like that, and just have a lot of fun. We got all kinds of swag coming in, lots of exciting things to do. Big couple of months coming up here for spooky season. Man, up to maybe 50 videos now that I'm doing. I left 48 behind, maybe got 50 coming. Lots of stuff coming, lots of lists, rankings, and a shitload of fun. And I thank you all so much for being here with me to enjoy it. So I love hanging out with you and talking movies. But until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.
I know.